The United States government has broken over 560 treaties with Native Americans. That number is not disputed. The U.S. government admits that they've broken more than 560 treaties with Native American tribes. When European colonists first arrived on the continent, there were somewhere between 300 and 500 million indigenous people living here. By the year 1900, after the U.S. government had forcibly removed them from their lands, confined them to reservations and broken numerous treaties in the process, there were only about 250,000 Native Americans left. Today, there are just over 5 million. There are 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States today. Each of these tribes have their own distinct language, culture, and history. But beginning in the early 1600s, the United States government began a campaign of removing Native Americans from their lands and placing them on reservations. This process was called relocation. During the 1800s, the U.S. military carried out a series of violent campaigns to remove Native Americans from their lands. These campaigns resulted in the deaths of millions of Native Americans. In addition to breaking treaties, the United States government also engaged in a policy of assimilation. The goal of this policy was to destroy Native American culture and replace it with white American culture. As part of this effort, the U.S. government forced Native American children into boarding schools where they were punished for speaking their native languages or practicing their religions. Despite all of this, Native Americans have never given up their fight for justice. From the American Revolution until today, Native Americans have fought for their rights and their sovereignty. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to recognize the rights of indigenous peoples around the world. This movement has led to some positive changes in the United States. For example, in 2019, the U.S. government apologized for its role in the boarding school scandal and provided funding for a new federal commission to study the history and lasting impacts of these schools. However, there is still a lot of work to be done. There are still many Native Americans who are fighting for their basic human rights. Yes. They are fighting for the right to self-determination, the right to land, and the right to cultural survival. If you want to learn more about Native American history, I encourage you to check out the additional resources. We have a long way to go before we can ever hope to right the wrongs that were done to Native Americans. But by learning about their history and culture, we can all help to create a better future. I'd like to tell you about an exciting project my team and I are working on. We're making a documentary about the history of indigenous people in the United States. Our goal is to share the stories of the 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States. In order to make this film, I'm traveling all over the country to visit different reservations and interview tribal leaders and historians. I'm also working with a team of writers and researchers to gather as much information as possible about each tribe. This project is important to me because I believe that it's essential to share the stories of indigenous people. Their history dates back thousands of years, and their cultures are incredibly rich and vibrant. Despite the challenges they've faced, indigenous people have thrived and continued to make important contributions to society. I'm hoping that this documentary will help to educate others about indigenous history and culture and promote understanding and respect between different cultures. I'm also committed to sharing the stories of indigenous people because it's essential to confront the difficult history of the United States. The United States government has a long history of breaking treaties with indigenous people and committing acts of violence against them. It's important to acknowledge this history and learn from it so that we can create a better future. Making this documentary is a lot of work, but it's also an incredible experience. I've met so many amazing people and I'm learning so much about Indigenous history and culture. Excited to share what I'm learning with all of you. So if you're interested in learning more about this project, be sure to follow along. I'll be posting updates and sneak peeks as we make progress on the film. I'm also always open to feedback and suggestions, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any thoughts or ideas. Thank you for your support and for your interest in Indigenous history and culture. I look forward to sharing more with you soon.